K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
All right, I think that's going to do it for the commercials. So, my guest no show today, but that's just kind of the risk you take when you're doing anything revolving around addiction. But it works out because I've gotten like just a tremendous amount of people asking. They say, Rob, you've talked about your problem a little bit in the past, on this show, relating with people. You told a little bit of it on Wrestle Shoot, but never really actually got into it. So I think that's what we're gonna do today. I'm just gonna tell the story about your boy Rob and what happened. So things in the drug world can get pretty grisly, and let's get into it. So I gotta trace it back to God, forever ago. The pro wrestling business is not very forgiving. It's very rough on you physically, and it's also taxing in other areas. Strain on the family, just different kinds of stresses. But the hardest stress is when you show up into a town and you check into your hotel, and you've got about an hour before you have to be over at the venue and check in there. Then you do your show. Now, back in these days, the boys were the boys. It's a whole lot different. It was a whole lot different then than it is now. Nowadays, okay, back then, when you get done with the show, you go to the after party. There's always an after party, and you're kind of obligated to be there. Usually, some kind of a nightclub, bar, strip club, whatever is a sponsor of the event, and you're required to be there for at least a little while. But back then, that's where all the real business in wrestling was done, was in the bars. You would get together with the other wrestlers and you'd start drinking and loosening up and uh, start talking about storyline ideas or matches you would like to do with them. And you kind of get your own ideas built up. So when you go to the promoter and pitch it, you got kind of a unified idea of what you're actually presenting. So, like I said, back then business was done in the bars, but it wasn't always just about going in there and drinking because, at the bars, a lot of debauchery goes on and drugs come into play. Especially, though, when you might only go to the bar for a couple of hours because you've got to drive 6, 8 hours to the next city to do the next show. So you'll be running on very little sleep and you'll go do the show. So you're sore. And, that's something else that doesn't help you heal up. It's not sleeping enough. But then you got to drive. And some guys are too hammered to drive or whatnot. Then you got to stay awake. So I'm not going to blow anybody's spot up by naming any names. Excuse me. But a pretty famous wrestler. One day we get in the car and I had a little bit of a buzz on. And he goes, "Hey kid, you gotta drive. I'm fucked up." And I was like, "Oh wow, I'm a little drunk too. What are we gonna do about this?" And he puts me at a little line of coke across his little. He used to wear face paint sometimes. So he had a little face paint mirror, and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I've never done that. I don't want to do that." He's like, "Fine, fuck you, get out of the way. I'll do it and I'll drive it." He was so peer pressure, boo hoo. I do it, take my line, and I'm like, "Whoa, all right, let's drive." Boom, and we're on the road. I spend the rest of the night driving, doing little tiny bumps, and really just enjoying the hell out of myself. Because I've said it 100 times: nobody gets hooked on drugs because they're not fun, right? So that's where I got my first taste, and I wouldn't have considered myself like an addict for years still. It was just a very occasional recreational thing or to keep me awake on a long road trip if I was the driver. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So, fast forward, I eventually moved on out to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, after living in all kinds of states, and um, met somebody who I'd like to get this particular somebody on the show one day, but I don't know if they'll be willing because they're so far into their own recovery and might not want their story made too public. So I'm not going to get too into it, but I meet somebody out here, and I'm starting to pick up coke more and more often. It's starting to really appeal to me more and more often, and I use all kinds of excuses, but they're not so much excuses as they are just bumps in the road. I think that helped me make a bad decision. But I found out that my dad had pancreatic cancer, and he was already in stage 4. So there was at that point seemingly nothing that we could do except just be there for him. So I'm taking that stress on, and I wasn't wrestling. I hadn't been wrestling for a couple of years, so I had some financial strains. Working like a dog, we call them shoot jobs, real jobs. And after I went and bought this car, and it was it wasn't the greatest car in the world, but it was something that I did one of those, I call them Guidos, the buy here, pay here guys, where you make your monthly payments right to the car lot, like dirt bags. I get it in my head of, you know what? I know how much I spend on this shit. And I know how much some of my friends spend on it. Maybe I should sell it for a little while. Just long enough to pay off my car. That's right. That's the plan. So I talked to this dealer and say, can you hook me up so I can start putting it out there and making some dough? And they were like, yeah, hell yeah. You get it from me, then you go out and do your thing, and everybody's happy. And that's what we did. And of course, I'm not just selling it. I'm doing it too. That's just a no-brainer. You got to try it before you sell it, right? So I should have been told when I almost immediately got arrested. I mean, it was quick. I was being sloppy, and bam, I get picked up. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, I think everybody should just obviously know, but selling cocaine is a felony. So I got my first pinch, and I went in front of my first judge, and that should have been the, hey, maybe you're just not the guy who's cut out for this. But I wasn't ready to throw in the towel yet. Figure I've already got an arrest, so I might as well, make it worth my while, make it work. So I keep into it, and my landlord finds, about the arrest. He kicks me out. I got to go find a new place to live, and the shoot job I was working, because I don't know how they do it in the rest of the world, but in Pittsburgh, if you get a real arrest, they have this little rag sheet they publish every week where they show the mugshots of locals who have been arrested, and bam, there I was. So everything in the neighborhood I was living just went to shit, man. It was done. Pack it up, move it on. Which is what I did. And still not smart enough to know when to throw in the towel. So I get back to it, and now I'm doing pretty well. I'm sliding by all these things and not really having too much trouble. Didn't realize I was having trouble yet. Didn't really take, because I was selling a lot. So I wasn't really taking into account how much I was using it. There was always an excuse. Oh my God, my phone rings all day and all night, and I've got to stay awake to make that money. Got to be all about my customer service. And my trial lawyer, her name is Jill Rangos, and she has her own sordid past with drugs, being that one of her daughters overdosed and died, and it was on heroin. So she already had just this great big hate for narcotics. I say if she has that big of a hate on for narcotics, she's in the wrong line of work, because she's sometimes throwing out some pretty unreasonable sentences. So there's a whole bunch of steps you have to go through in the judicial process in Pittsburgh. There's Oh, it's just so many steps because it's a commonwealth. And anybody in a commonwealth will agree with me. Fuck a commonwealth. Fuck them. And I'm dealing with all kinds of different kinds of clients, the whole spectrum of humanity. You got people who were just trying to buy little gram bags, and you got people who are buying, quarter ounces, half ounces, the real. I call them the weekend warriors, people with the huge jobs and expendable funds. So during all this time, my dad's health is just declining horribly. My mom's in a deep depression. And as the loyalists for the show know, that my sister was also going through her own huge battles with drugs and alcohol. Of course, I wasn't really any help to her because I was selling Coke. So I would give it to her, or at a price that I wouldn't actually make any money. But that was just indulging her problems while I was living mine. And his health just keeps on getting worse and worse. So after so much time of me still doing what I'm doing, I get caught again. Only this time they didn't catch me with enough to charge me with possession with intent to distribute. So they only had enough to charge me with possession. Now, when you get arrested in a commonwealth, you have to start at what they call the magistrate level. Somebody who decides if there's enough evidence to send this down to big boy court downtown. And you know what the real kick in the nuts is about the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is that the magistrate is obligated to see everything presented in the most favorable light of the Commonwealth. So going to the magistrate is really just a big goddamn waste of the defendant's time because they know what's going down. And if the judge somehow decides that there's not enough evidence for it to go downtown and he dismisses it, they can't at the magistrate level dismiss it with prejudice, which means the fucking district attorney turns right around and refiles the same charges against you. So you're screwed either way. There's no real way around it. However, they couldn't nail me with a felony on this one. It was just possession of cocaine under 28 grams, which means under an ounce. So he finds that it has to go downtown. Also, the thing about the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is when you get a trial judge, they are your trial judge for the rest of your life. Anytime you have any funk, you have to go to court, you're going to go before that same judge. Crazy. So, magistrate finds enough evidence and sends that misdemeanor downtown and wants me to go to a thing called Phoenix Court, which is expedited justice, basically, where they have you've already entered your plea to get Phoenix Court, and you show up, and the DA pulls you aside and goes, "Okay, this is what you were convicted of. Here's your choice of like 3, 4, 5 different sentences that you can take with this. There's usually probation and a fine or something." I had Rangos, and she wasn't having that going to Phoenix Court in front of another judge. So she drags me into court and says, "Okay, so this is where we're at, and can you pass a drug screen?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." She goes, "Okay, good, because I'm about to give you one." Bam. Somebody in scrubs comes walking out, drags me to the bathroom, takes a cup of piss, finds weed, coke, some Xanax, some downers. Because when you're riding on blow for too long, you need something to bring you down, or it's a pretty rough crash. So now I find myself standing in front of this judge with a felony charge and a misdemeanor charge, both surrounding drugs. And now I'm going to jail. Meantime, my dad is sitting out here. His health is failing. My mother is falling apart. My sister was just about as useless as it could get at that time in her life. And it was just bad. And she let me go ahead and sit in there for 6 months. And she sentenced me to go to rehab. So they finally, 6 months later, this little facility says, okay, we got a bed for you. They send somebody to pick you up from the jail, transport you there. And I tell you, that was the best day I had in a long time, was getting out of that jail, getting some real food, getting a soft bed. But I didn't want to be there, like, at all. So I wasn't taking it seriously at all. All I'm doing is counting down my 28 days to get out of jail and go ahead and hit it, get back out on the streets and get back to my ripping and running and do my thing, which is exactly what I did. You know, I blew smoke at the counselor's ass for 28 days. I participated in all the groups, said all the little bullshit that I thought they wanted to hear until they let me go. Because then you go home, still have my apartment, still had a big stack of cash waiting for me. I still had all my connections to re up my product. Still had my phone with all my customers in it. So I mean, it was just as easy as get out, pull a few bucks out, and go see my guy, and get right back to work. And I was back to work that same night when I got released from rehab that morning. Meantime, Dad's health is still failing, and it's getting bad this time. So I had to see the judge again 30 days after I was released from rehab. And I still have this felony, I still have this misdemeanor hanging over my head. So I finally, 30 days comes and I go in front of the judge, and I didn't even make it in the courtroom before somebody with scrubs walked up to me and held a cup up. And I said, son of a bitch, how did I not see this coming? Well, because the little addiction on my back was telling me, nah, you'll be okay. She's not going to. She just wants to get this over with. So came back hot for coke, came back hot for weed, went right back to jail. Boom. Uh, I was so shocked that I went to jail. They almost towed my car from the parking garage before I got a hold of somebody to go pick it up. So, I mean, it's humiliating. People that I was in there with the first time who were still there are like, Jesus, man, you're back. I'm like, yeah, I sure am. So now I'm sitting in jail again, and I still have absolutely no interest in actually living a sober life. What's up, Brandon? So, yeah, that was, I think it was 7.5 months was the second time around. And finally, I'm sitting downstairs in the cage underneath the courthouse, you know, still in my jail reds, waiting to go upstairs and see the judge. My lawyer comes down and says, want to go home today? And I was like, yeah, of course I fucking want to go home today. So he says, they're not going to drop anything, buddy. You know, they're going to, you plead guilty to the felony, you plead guilty to the misdemeanor. They're going to call it time served. And they're going to give you, I think it was a year of probation total, which Pennsylvania, you know, they're really strict on the mandatories. And for some reason, I came in, lied to Rangos, came up dirty. She sent me to jail, but let me go to rehab. And then I came back again and I was dirty again. And she was going to let me go to rehab again, except for there is one rule in Pennsylvania, which says if you're in jail for X amount of days without seeing your judge and getting this thing settled, they have to let you go and drop it. So she brought me in when I had 2 days left until that. In the meantime, there was this program here that is affiliated with the jail called Renewal, where it's basically jail rehab. You get to wear your street clothes, the food is better, but you don't get to go outside. You still have to come out for counts. You just kind of live the jail life still. It's just a little bit different with a little bit better food. So she, rather than giving me an actual jail sentence, said, I'm going to order you go to outpatient rehab. And that was cool. I was cool with that because I got to go home. But still, after 6 months in jail and then 28 days in rehab, 30 days out on the bricks, and then back in for another 7 months or something like that, still, I'm not ready to get my life right because still, I've got my apartment. I've got that stack of cash. I've got my reserve of drug, and I've still got my client list. And I'm kind of trying to Reader's Digest some of this, or this thing will go on for hours. So I do my inpatient or my outpatient, and it turns out they had a fudge in the paperwork, and they put me on non-reporting probation, which I'm like, sweet. So non-reporting probation just means basically I sit on paper for the year that I was given. So I'm out there doing my thing, and I'm going to rehab, and I'm bringing my coke with me, and my work phone with me. And I'm leaving that shit in the car. So when I get out of rehab at night, bam, I'm back out doing deliveries. Like I still haven't learned a fucking thing from. And I'm out of rehab sitting at home, and I'm getting calls from friends going, "Oh my god, this guy, this gal, this guy, they've all died. They've all overdosed and died that we were in a inpatient with." I felt, some kind of way about it, but not any kind of way enough to stop, which is just insanely pathetic. But still doing my thing. Been dating a girl now for about a year, and I had all of my shit, scales, the drug, the phone, cash, everything in a locked briefcase. And I go to some gas station before I go to outpatient treatment, and I sell her a bag at the gas station parking lot. She pulls out a straw and bam, takes kind of a straw key bump right there in the parking lot. I'm like, what are you doing, yo? Put that down. So she did. And I went to the gas station, did what I got what I needed to get. I came out and bam, 3 cop cars dropped on me. I said, we got a call that you guys that you and somebody else are sitting out here uh doing drugs. And I'm like, oh no, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I glanced down at the floorboard of the passenger side, and there is her fucking straw sitting on the floorboard. Trying to put it back in her purse, she missed. Well, the cops saw it, and that's all the probable cause they needed to say, we're going to open this briefcase. I said, oh, it's locked. And I'll tell you, I don't have a code. It's not my briefcase. Fuck you. So they take me to jail, or to the police station, rather. Stick me in a cage for about 5 hours. Finally realize that they have to wait now until the next Monday to get a warrant to open this briefcase and unlock my phone and use anything in there against me. And they were going to get it. I knew they were going to get it. They had my address, everything. So they said, we're going to let you go, but you got to know that come Monday, we get the warrant to open this shit. We're also going to get a warrant for your arrest, come pick you up. So get your affairs in order. You're picking me up. Fuck you. I didn't even tell my landlord I was leaving, man. I just packed up all my shit in the dead of the night and went and found a new place. And I won't say this guy's name, but I meet this dirtbag little Italian fuck out here in Pittsburgh, and he's a huge cokehead. So he is nothing but supportive of my problem. Oh, I'll put you in a building where they're all a bunch of cokeheads, so you could just sell it to them all there. I thought, ooh, great for me, yay. And now things, believe it or not, now is when things start getting real difficult. I come over to see my dad, and he's in bed, and he's real sick. And I said to him, I want you to know that when the worst ends up happening, I'm going to be here to take care of mom. I'll take care of business. And he kind of threw one eye, looked at me, and he goes, "Oh, you're gonna take care of business. You're gonna take care of your mom. in between your trips to the bathroom to blow that shit up your nose, in between your trips to jail, in between your sales, you're going to go ahead and take care of mom. I don't need your fucking help. Don't worry about it. Out of all the shit that I've been through, I finally felt something over my behavior. So I made myself scarce for a few months. I was ashamed to face him after that conversation. And then finally, my sister's like, "You got to stop staying away. You're going to miss the remainder of his life, and how you going to deal with that? You got to start coming around." So I came around a little bit more sporadically, not too terribly much, but a little more sporadically. In the meantime, I know there is a felony warrant for my arrest. I know they are actively looking for me. I mean, Pittsburgh is broke down to little townships and boroughs. So I was arrested in Brentwood, and Brentwood isn't going to come to like Millvale to catch me, but Pittsburgh sheriffs can go anywhere they fucking want to, even though they typically don't. They can. Usually, constables are the ones trying to serve warrants. Even the high risk felony ones, which I was considered high risk felon, even though I never was caught with a weapon, never had any weapons charges, didn't carry a weapon. But I'm now miserably depressed. So I start using a lot. I mean, a lot. I'm sure that I can't say exactly how much I was doing before. I wasn't really paying attention. But now I'm paying attention and I'm doing a lot of drugs. It's because I'm trying to face that I've kind of ruined my life. I'm going to be a two-time felon. And who hires a fucking one-time felon, much less a two-time? Never really considering that, you know, professional wrestling is going to be in my future. The whole time I'm thinking, that book is closed. Now I've screwed my life beyond repair. And like I've mentioned a couple times, Chris Casanova, my co-host on Wrestle Sheet, him and he's been me and him been real tight for a real long time. And he was living in Texas and I'm living in Pennsylvania. He eventually, the phone calls from him just kind of stopped coming in, at a regular basis because he was listening to my woe is me, I'm going to end up in prison or I'm going to end up dead. And that's just where the universe has decided to take me through all this. And man, I put him through hell. Like he didn't know how to handle that. He's a good guy. He doesn't get down like that, so he didn't know how to deal with that. He tried to give me, reassuring statements and pep talks. It never went anywhere. I wasn't hearing. I was just fucking dismissing it, telling him there's an active warrant for me now. When I eventually get picked up on this again, because there's no avoiding it, I'm gonna get picked up. That's just the way that it is. This Judge Rangos is gonna put my ass under the fucking jail. I am done, dude. There's no way back from this one. And my life just went down, just kept going down. I mean, I was on a hard crash, going nowhere good. And now, like my real friend isn't really talking to me much anymore because he doesn't know how to deal with what I'm going through, where my head is at. And you got all these cokeheads that I'm selling to. And they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, this is my friend Rob." And I'm like, "Man, fuck you. We're not friends. We're not friends at all. The only reason that we know each other is because I have something that you want. And that's it. And when I stop selling, I will never hear from you again. If I go to jail, you'll never send me a letter. Just fuck you. We're not friends." So I was pretty much a miserable fuck to everybody except my girlfriend at the time. And as things started escalating in my life, for the negative, and my dad is getting sicker, and just all kinds of shit is going down. She's finally come to the point where she had kids, and at first, she knew that I sold coke, but she also knew that I had a job. And I would fill her head full of bullshit because she liked to get high. I mean, everybody likes to get high. She didn't like to get high like I did. Nobody liked to get high like I did that I knew. she was starting to distance herself. And this is somebody that in my drug fueled insanity, I really fell for this one. The only time I felt anything positive was revolving around her. So that I became kind of dependent, just as dependent on the positive that I would get from her as I was on drugs. Let's see. Hold on. Brandon said something. If you could sit down with a young teen, what would you say in hopes that I would tell them exactly the story that I'm telling you guys right now? How it all seems so innocent in the beginning, and it just fucking goes really sideways, really fast, and really big. It's bad. So where was I? Oh yeah, got the girlfriend, and see, I'm living in this apartment complex. So I've got dough, man. I've got cash to burn, literally, and not worry about it. I've always got product. And my dad's cancer in the meantime had actually gone into remission. It only lasted about 6 months before it came back, and it came back like just with a fucking vengeance, man. Cancer. Fuck cancer. Jesus Christ. We got medicine out there that can take HIV and make it undetectable in a blood test. But we can't do anything about cancer. The fuck. Anyway, moving on. I start finally really feeling alone. And a letter comes to my parents' house because that's the address that the probation office had for me. And it says, we need to see you in person about your case. So I'm thinking, okay, I just need to go up there and sign some paperwork so they can close my case out. And I'm done with that nonsense. In the meantime, I'd secured a uh, pretty important, pretty expensive attorney. I told him, and he goes, "Okay, well, make sure you call me, and let me know what's going on with that." He knew something was up. So I show up and I might meet my PO, and she goes, "Okay, so I was just about to close your case out, and I found you have this warrant for your arrest, and I can't close you out until I've taken care of her. I'm not going to take you into custody, but you need to deal with this, or I can't close you out." Okay, so I'm listening to everything she has to say, and she goes, "Okay, so anyway, I need you to pee in this cup. Are you guys seeing the pattern here?" Each time I go in front of somebody judicial, they stick a cup in my face. And I'm like, fuck me. So I told her, look, I'm going to come up hot for coke. And she's like, okay, well, that's a problem. And she tells me, you have to go to rehab. That's the deal. Go to rehab or go to jail. I ain't do any. I said, okay, I'll look into rehab. Fuck her. I'm gone. I hit the road running, man. She doesn't know my new address. They don't know where I'm. And I was in a place where I was pretty well squirreled away and hidden. Like, even if the cops came walking through the apartment complex, they wouldn't find me because I had a basement area that they just, it was, unless you knew how to get there, you weren't getting there. And which saved me from, because there's a lot of dirtbags out there that will try to rob you and shit if they know where you live. So I made sure people they didn't come to my place. I went to them. Even people in the apartment complex, I would meet them up in the back alley. Nobody came to my place. So I'm keeping all this shit squirreled away, great. Now this PO wants to send me to jail. I've got this warrant out for me, and I got Rangos who just has a hate on for anybody who's convicted of drugs. I'm gonna go see the folks. So I show up, and Dad's at the point now where he's talking to me again, but we don't ever discuss my legals, how it's going, where my head's at with it all. He it was for him, it was out of sight, out of mind. He didn't want it, but he was in bad shape. And I'll fast forward a bit here. I get to the point where the girlfriend says, I need you to stop using her. I can't see you anymore. I need you to stop using, and I need you to transition yourself into not selling anymore if we're going to have kind of a future. No problem, baby. It's all good. I'll take care of it. I'll stop. You get to see a whole new me. It's going to be great. Quack. I'm going to stop doing shit. I didn't hide anything from her except that towards the end. But like, there was no other women. I wasn't doing any of that nonsense. It was she had a key to my apartment. She could show up anytime she wanted to, never worry about what she's going to walk into until, of course, she did. And that was a day where I was on like a 3-day tear. I mean, I was going and going and going. Finally, I crashed and I slept for like 30 hours, like 30. I woke up and I had this big, very expensive bag of Coke sitting on my ottoman. I just sat down. This is when you know you got a problem, when you're talking to your drugs. I sat down, I looked at it, and I actually pointed at it and said, I am not going to do any of you. I'm going to sell all of you. Turn on the TV, trying to, and I was feeling good, sleeping for 30 hours. The sun was out, you could hear the birds, and it was a beautiful day, and everything seemed so great. And turning on a movie, and I couldn't say how much time went by, but I found myself with my straw going boom, boom. And this was completely unconscious. I just went to the bag subconsciously, took a couple of bumps and realized what I did. I was like, fuck. Well, it's too late now. There's my excuse. Might as well keep going, because that tastes pretty good. Let's see what's next. And my door opens. And in comes walking my girlfriend, wanted to surprise me with lunch and find white shit all over me. And you could actually hear her heart break as she said, I thought that maybe you were going to be serious about this, but again, I have kids, so that's just going to be that. Just, please don't contact me again. I don't want to go through this with you. She set the food down. She took her key, and I'll remember the sound forever. She dropped it on this little glass tabletop I had by the door. Just the sound of that key hitting, and I was just fucking devastated. Not so devastated that I didn't keep blowing that shit up my nose. And I call this now my moment of clarity. When I realized my life has gone completely to shit. And every addict and alcoholic has these moments of clarity. They just very rarely act on them when they have it because it's fleeting, man. It's gone. It just hits me that this has to stop. What more do you have to give? Your dad doesn't believe in you. The state wants to send me to prison, and I know they want to send me to prison. And I just lost her. And I just, my best friend doesn't really talk to me anymore. I just don't think I have anything left to give. So, they say that when you ask for God's help, you get it on God's time, not yours. So I'm like, I just decided I'm going to start praying. I'm going to ask for some strength, for some help. And it's almost like there was a knock at my door, man. It's like, here I am. You ready? Here is what you need to do. It just hit me. Everything hit me of what I needed to do. I picked up the phone. I called my mother. And I said, I am in a really bad way. And I need to do something now, or it's going to be too late. If I wait till tomorrow, I won't do anything. She said, I'm on the way. So she came over. And in the meantime, I called my landlord and said, you're a piece of shit and I'm leaving. And that's that. I'll leave you, an 8-ball or something on the kitchen counter, but I'm gone. Fuck you. And I did scoop some out into a bag for him, put it on the counter. I took the rest of it. And I'm talking like this is $1,000 worth of blood. Clunked it right in the toilet. Called my cell phone provider and said, cancel me today. Turned off my phone, clunked that in the fucking toilet. Left. Everything, all of my furniture, everything I had, I left. Mom pulled up out front of my complex. I got in, said, what do I do? And she goes, well, let's Greenbrier, the rehab that I went to already from the court was called Greenbrier because Greenbrier didn't work for you. So let's try Gateway. So we go to this outpatient office where I have an interview with counselor. He said, okay, this is how it works. I'm going to ask you a series of set questions, get your answers. Then I'm going to drug test you to make sure that, there's nothing secret in there that I don't know about. And then we're going to see what we can do to get you fixed up. And I opened up to him like he was Barbara Walters. Just everything he asked, I answered honestly, and I got in detail about everything. All the bad, all the ugly, all the shit that I haven't even thought I should talk about on the podcast. And there was a lot of grizzly to my life too. Maybe one of these days I'll get to the point where I feel like maybe I won't get rearrested for telling some stories. But after everything was all said and done, he put the cup for the urine test back in the packet, put it aside, said, okay, you need to get in here right now. I believe everything you told me. And that guy arranged it to work. I didn't have any health insurance. I didn't have anything. He arranged it to get me on state insurance, to get me into rehab. He had insurance and a bed arranged for me the next morning. Meantime, I didn't go back home. I went to my folks' house and just went and flopped on the couch because I know I just slept for 30 hours. But then I went through blowing all this shit up my nose again and all this emotional shit that was hitting me. Everything was going wrong. And I was exhausted again because I stopped doing coke at like noon. So now it's like, 10, 11 o'clock at night. I've already crashed off that, dealt with everything. So I woke up to my phone ringing saying, how soon can you be there? Right now. Got to ride up there and walked into that place. For people, there's a lot of fear involved in going to an inpatient facility. Most of them have never been through it. They don't know what it's about. They just think it must be like jail and it's going to be hell because they're leaving their drug of choice behind. Not me. I walked in there with bells on. I might as well have been dancing a jig. I was so goddamn happy to be there. That moment of clarity was still on me. I wasn't questioning it. I wasn't thinking, how do I go back? I'm out. The night before, however, when I got home, mom went upstairs because dad was in bed, told him everything that happened that day. He actually got his ass up, went downstairs, went and sat with me and had a little heart to heart with me and said, I'm really proud of you. And I think that was the first time he ever said that. My dad was one of those guys who didn't like, share emotions and feelings. Wasn't that kind of guy. And I took inpatient really seriously because I had it in my head that although this was a much bigger facility than the last one, I'm still taking up a bed that somebody else wants to get into. Somebody else needs to get into. So if I'm going to be here, I'm going to fucking do it. I'm going to do it for real. And I did. I took it very seriously. I'll tell you, actually, I don't know if you guys heard the Smells Like Hope I did with Jake, but I had a dream my first night in there about Kevin Nash, Bret Hart, and Jake rolling up in a big black SUV trying to talk me into going out this window and jumping in the car with them. Nash was drinking. I think Bret was doing coke and Jake was smoking weed. And I'm like, come on, man, come do all this shit you love with us. But besides that, I never went through like the horrible drug dream phases that lots of people do. Some people are just very tortured when they're trying to get their mind right, because it really is rewiring. It's not a joke. Getting off drugs is not just a mindset. It's not just a decision that you make. It's you have to make that decision, and then you have to learn how to do it, man. Because I forgot who I used to be. I forgot how to live my life. I forgot how to be productive and genuine and real. But sitting in rehab, I'm thinking about all the people that I seriously let down, that I've made very uncomfortable, feel bad, fear for what's going to happen to me. Just all the shit that I've done. That was all really front of my mind, man. It was there. And to this day, I keep all that, and I keep in the front of my mind the fear of what I know cocaine will do to me if I try to do it again. I don't have another run in me. You know, I can't just be like, oh, I'll go for a week and then now fuck that because I won't stop. I don't even know if my health could take it. Who knows? It's a pretty damning thing. But I get out and I keep in court the charges that are still, mind you, hanging over my head. I'm keeping those in the front of my mind. But I did go to the probation officer to turn myself in. And she says, what the hell? Where have you been? I told her I just got out of rehab. Here's my proof. I'll give you a clean drug test. And if you want to send me to jail, I'm just gonna go. She didn't send me to jail. Amazingly enough. She said, but you do gotta face these charges. And I said, I know. So after so much time goes by, I decide I'm gonna do it. And I decide I'm not gonna use this very expensive lawyer anymore because I don't have any fucking money for him anymore. So I get the public defender's office and I have it put in my head. I had these great letters from the counselors, at rehab, and a couple of the patients as well. Everybody saying, Rob seems to be really serious about this. And by the time I went to turn myself in, and I did turn myself. Hold on, let me rewind real quick. I did turn myself in, and my lawyer got me released on the pretrial services basis, where you got to go report to them once every 2 weeks or something like that before you go to court. So I did all that and I was ready to go. I called the public defender and I was just going to face up to everything that I'd done and I was going to go in there and plead guilty. So I get to court on the morning of that I'm supposed to be there, back in front of Rangos, who I know is just going to wreck me, man. She's done with me. I fucked up too many times. Basically, I spit in her face too many times. And wild, man. So I go to the public defender who's waiting for me in the hallway. He sees me. He goes, "Wow." I said, "Yeah, what?" He goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, "You look great." That's what we talk about. I look great. And he showed me my last mugshot before my mugshot, two mugshots ago, actually, because they got me a new one when I turned myself in where I looked normal. But he goes, "Look at these." And I was fried. I was burned out. I can't believe how bad I looked. Um, I see I'm here to plead guilty. And he's like, well, now wait a minute. Let's not jump the gun here because you going in there and pleading guilty right now is probably not going to work out very well for you. I was honestly expecting to be sentenced to 5 to 7 years. That's what I was going in there. That's what I was hoping for. He says, just sit down right here and let me go talk to Rangos and the DA. Now, from where I'm sitting, I have a direct ear line right up to where her bench is. And he walks in there and said, I'm here and I'm here prepared to plead guilty. I heard the judge go, no, he's not. She just didn't believe it. And he says, he's 9 months clean and he's ready to take a drug test today, which she did give me. I came back right through everything. And after sitting out in the hallway for like a nerve wracking, anxiety ridden 2 hours on this hard ass wooden bench, just sweating bullets, thinking every 10 minutes that goes by, oh, this is just getting worse. This is just getting worse. He finally comes out and goes, okay, you can go. I said, what do you mean I can go? He goes, she's going to give you drug court. She gave me what? I'd never even heard of drug court. No idea what drug court was. I said, so no, no jail then? And not yet. They're going to contact you, and if you fuck this up, they're going to tell you what your sentence is as it stands right now at drug court when you plead in. So, and I'm going to make this the next episode. I'm going to talk about drug court. We're getting almost out of time here. I don't want to keep rambling, but when I went to plead into drug court, he reads all of your charges in front of a full courtroom of other defendants. And they're already prepared to accept me. There was a interview process I already went through with this really awesome lady, Sue, from Justice Related Services, who basically is the one who looks out for you over the court during your time in drug court. If you relapse, she helps get you back into a program and tries to work out other ways rather than jail. But after he reads off all my charges, he informs me that I had been sentenced, which can't be overturned unless I should say won't be lessened if I fuck up. So if I get kicked out of drug court, the original sentence is imposed, and it was 20 years in state prison. And they had this worked out months before I went there to turn myself in because they looked at me as flight risk. I'm going to go run again. I'm still using, blah, blah, blah. So they gave me just a huge love shot by letting me go to drug court. She was completely within her jurisdiction or judicial rights to deny me drug court and just send me away for 20. So 5 to 7 turned into a hard 20 with no parole right in front of my eyes. And I had never been so happy to be clean. And I'm going to end it in just a minute. But first, I want to tell you all about this. I decided to take my parents to lunch to Panera. And I can't remember what the reason was, but mom had to dip out for a minute. So I let her take my car. Me and dad would sit outside there. It was a really nice day. The birds, chirp, chirp, all that good shit. And we're sitting on this bench, just calm, casually waiting for her to come back. And I said, I know we had this discussion before, but I want you. Hang on, I'm getting choked up. Stop being a sissy, Wiles. Okay, I'll stop. Um, I said, I know we had this discussion before, but when the worst happens, I'm still going to be here. And I'm still going to take care of mom and handle everything needs to be handled. And he patted me on my shoulder and said, I believe you this time. So that was one of those moments where you really realized how much a significant life change paid off. Is that when he finally did pass, he didn't go with fear in his heart about what was going to happen to his life. He just said, literally 2 days before he passed, he said, I know that you're taking on a lot, and I don't want to put more on you, but you've got to figure out how to get this family fixed. You've got to figure out how to get your sister back. You've got to get Chris. You've got to get your mom. You've got to get everybody back together because we were so estranged and so just broken up and all over the board. It was drugs did a real number on my family, and booze did a real number on my family. And it's because of all that and all the pain that I felt, I know that there is so much more that people are going through. And that's why I do this podcast. I'll never try to monetize it. We play the commercials for the network in the beginning because, running this network is not cheap. I get that, but I'm not trying to line my pockets at all. So I'm going to put a pin in this for now. There's a little bit more I want to get back into next week. I want to tell you guys about my drug court experience and some of the moves that I've tried to make to help the helpless, because that's at the end of it. That's what a drug addict is and an alcoholic is. They're very powerless. Oh, thanks, John. That's very nice. I appreciate that. And I was fortunate in the sense of, and this sounds weird to say, I was fortunate in the sense of I suffered that real big loss of the girl that I was with to make me, to push me towards that moment of clarity. And I want to help other people reach their moment. And I've said this several times when I go to speakers, when I speak at meetings or I do other people's podcasts. Addicts are in hell, but there is an exit sign in hell. It's just really scary because it's surrounded by fire. But if you think about all the times that you have burned yourself in the pursuit of your narcotic lifestyle, then a little bit of fire is really nothing to walk through to get to that exit sign. So, to those of you who are listening, who are maybe suffering in silence, who are trying to figure out how to fix what's wrong with you, if nobody's told you today, I love you. You are very, very worth good things. My sister appearing on the podcast a couple of weeks ago is evidence that no matter what you have done, the people in your life want to forgive you. They want you back. You just have to show them that it's safe. And I know you're in your head, you're going, nope, nope, you're wrong. Not me. I'm different. You are not fucking different. You are not. We are all the same. We are all fighting the same fight. Just you're still in the addiction stage, but you can come out. Look at me. You've never met me, and I want to help you. Now think of all the people you know that want to help you. It's just food for thought. You are worth it. And to those people out there who are watching, who are trying to relate some of my story to a battle that their friends or family are fighting, just know that you can't push it on them. You have to wait for them to have their moment of clarity. And when they have it, you have got to be there to receive it because they need you more than a newborn baby needs their mom. They need you now. So, on that, thank you, everybody, for listening. And I know a lot of you have asked me to tell the story, and there's still some more to tell. So, we're going to come back with part 2 next week. And be good to each other. We'll see you next time.